from CASSIUS, IFL TV, MTK Global. We're in Philadelphia. I'm joined by, you might not recognise him, but it definitely is Matthew Macklin. Matt, the new look. What, is there kind of, what, a new woman in your life? What's going on?
No women in my life. Just the, I think it's the beard, the ginger beard, you know what I mean?
A little bit of grey sets it off. Like, you actually look like a completely different person. It looks good, though.
I look like a Jack Russell, you know what I mean? Bit of ginger, bit of white.
A place you know very well. Obviously, you fought out here. You've, spent camps out here, etc., etc. Been a little bit starved of big-time boxing out here in Philly, by the sounds of it. Obviously, we know there hasn't been a champion coming to defend his title for 16 years. Tevin Farmer's doing that, but Philly love their boxing.
I mean, in terms of boxers' talent, the gyms, trainers, boxing knowledge, all that, it's probably, well, maybe one of the, well, it's definitely one of, it's, some people would say it's the fighting city in America. Joe Frazier back in the 70s, Joe Giardello, I can't even think there's that many, but there was that many over the years, and it was a real hot. Russell Peltz, legendary Hall of Fame promoter, matchmaker, used to put on the legendary fights at the Blue Horizon, but it's never, I don't know, in recent years anyway, it hasn't really had any of the big names, any of the marquee names, the big fights. New York, Vegas, LA, they've tended to hug them really, but Philadelphia is a real fighting city. I trained here for a couple of fights back in 2005. I fought here as well back then, and the gyms are tough, man. It's like they are out of a Rocky movie. I mean, there's no special effects. That's what they're like, and some of the best fighters in the world. A lot of fighters from Philly, Ivan Robinson, Maldrick Taylor. A lot of these guys, people you say, they left their best years behind them in the gyms, having wars. The Philly gym wars is kind of infamous for that, but it's good that there's a good card here. It's St. Patrick's Day weekend. John O'Carroll, Katie Taylor, the Irish community here in Philadelphia, big Irish community here. They'll certainly turn out and support them. But Philadelphia, fighting city, definitely.
I'd like to get your views on other issues in boxing. The heavyweight scene is kind of, I look at it as half complete. We kind of know what Joshua's doing now. We know what Wilder's doing next. He'll be fighting Dominic Breazeale. A little bit unclear what Tyson Fury, obviously now with this ESPN deal, will do. And also Dillian White as well. It's kind of being not left out at the moment, but he's kind of awaiting when he's going to fight next, potentially on July the 13th. But how do you kind of see all that at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? I'm just, watching from the sideline, seeing all the moves that are getting made, and, the heavyweight scene's booming again, really. Boxing's booming. Every different network wants a piece of the action. All the streaming platforms coming into it now. ESPN making big moves. They signed Tyson Fury. That's a massive piece on the chessboard for them. Talk is that Wilder's trying to do a deal with the Zone. That'd be good.
How much do you know about that, Matt? Obviously, Eddie Hearn refuses to talk about it since he kind of made some comments on Sky Sports, but now I think he's been kind of told, Eddie, keep your mouth shut and let kind of John Skipper and the DAZN people deal with Wilder without your input.
I think Eddie's probably, and Shelly Finkel, they're just not going to sit down and do a deal. Their personalities have clashed, and that's probably, a roadblock in that deal happening. So I think, money talks. I think Joshua fighting on DAZN on prime time, US television in Madison Square Garden in June is a good move. It really kind of enhances his profile and reputation stateside. Wilder and Fury was a big fight. That's already happened. The rematch isn't happening. Wilder's going to fight Breazeale. I think he's mandatory. And then you've got Joshua fighting Gerald Miller at Madison Square Garden in June. So that's massive for Joshua. It's massive for the heavyweight division here in America. Dillian White kind of sat. He was the man at the moment. He had a great position. He had a great enough. I don't know. He didn't feel it was good enough offer, but sometimes, I don't know, you got to be careful not to overplay your hand. And I don't know if he did or he didn't. Only he knows the reality of that. But he sat at the minute. What's happening with Dillian White, the one who had all the options, now he's got no options, or not no options, but none that are obvious at the minute at the forefront. So be interesting to see what his next move is. But yeah, it's all happening, man. ESPN, Tyson Fury. I mean, that's a big move. That's got the most viewers. That's like the biggest channel in sports. All the NFL, NHL, all the rest of it, basketball. It's all on ESPN. And, they're going to cross over and they're all going to see Tyson Fury, who's a huge personality. So, that's done. I think that's a good move for Tyson Fury. Joshua's still the queen on the chessboard. He carries the most belts. He's the kind of marquee name. And I think his next move is a crucial move. I think if he looks really good against Gerald Miller, on primetime US TV, I think that really enhances his career.
Deontay Wilder has called a press conference to announce his fight with Dominic Brazil. There's no more details of that, as in broadcaster-wise. But can you see a situation where, the reported figures, 50 million for Wilder over the next couple of fights or whatever it is, or 100 million in 3 fights, loads of reported figures. But can you see a situation where Wilder does go to the zone?
Yeah, I think so. Shelly Finkel, Al Heyman, Wilder, seemingly they're sitting down, the rumours are, and they're looking to do a deal with the zone. Now, Heyman's obviously got his deal with Showtime, Fox. But, maybe he sees that the action, if the Wilder's going to make the big fights, you need the opponents. And, the opponents is Joshua's on the zone. Miller is on the zone. They're fighting each other. Fury's on ESPN. So, if Wilder wants a piece of the Joshua fight, even if that's in 3 fights' time, he probably needs to be on the zone. And the zone of paying so much money, he probably wants a piece of that action. If he stays over on Showtime, maybe he can't get the opponents. Maybe the budget isn't there. I don't know the facts and figures, but that's what it looks like.
I do want to ask you about ESPN's deal with MTK Global, which was announced earlier this week. Huge for MTK Global and all their fighters to have that platform in the US with someone as big as ESPN.
Massive move. Game changer for them, really. They've been investing a lot. They've been working hard, building a lot of fighters on, some of these smaller hall shows that don't have TV backing in the UK, but they've kept going. They're doing streaming on IFL, putting the fights out there, so the fighters are getting exposure. But to get the exposure stateside, you're building them on both sides of the Atlantic. So fighters that kind of really progress and come on, their profiles are getting built both sides of the Atlantic. And the way boxing's such a global sport now, it's not just America and the UK. It's kind of just the one now. So you do need your profile being built in both markets. And the internet's changed everything. The streaming service has changed everything. It's just moving with the times, and that's what MTK are clearly doing. That's what ESPN and Top Rank are doing. They're moving with the times. Yeah, they've got their deal with ESPN, but they've also got the deal with ESPN Plus, which is the streaming. So, for MTK managing all these fighters and now also doing a deal with Top Rank, it's a massive move for them.
Obviously, Sandra Vaughan has been at the head for a little while now. It hasn't been that long, but it's been long enough. And Bob Yalen has come in as president. But for yourself, Matt, it's kind of your involvement is quite minimal now with what goes on.
Yeah, completely. I took it as far as I could, really, and for it to go to the next level, you needed massive investment, really. So, and in my own personal and private life, where I was at that time, I was living out of a bag. I was living in airports, hotels. Every relationship in my life was on WhatsApp. I needed a break, really. I probably hadn't even digested my own career. I'd gone straight into managing Michael Conlon. I was living out in New York. Well, I was based in New York, but I was in LA, New York, UK, Dubai, Australia. It was mental, really. So for my own personal growth as a person, I think I needed to step back a little bit, digest my own career. And in terms of MTK, to move on to that next level, it needed serious investment of capital. And Sandra done very well for herself in Fake Bake. She was always intrigued and interested in the boxing business, and would always talk. So she bought me out, and it worked for me, and I think it worked for MTK. I think it was a good deal all round. And but as the founder, I'm Team MTK. I'm pro MTK. I watch from the outside, and really hope it goes all the way. In any way I can give advice, I always do.
All right. Well, listen. I'll let you get back to your Sky duties. They're paying you. I'm not. So.
Exactly.
Matthew Macklin, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV, and we'll look forward to a great night here in Philadelphia tomorrow night, live on Sky Sports and The Zone.
Yeah, me too. Looking forward to it. Wishing John O'Carroll all the best, and Katie Taylor, of course, Luke Campbell, and all the fighters on the card. I'm sure they'll give us a great night of boxing.
Thank you very much, Matthew Macklin.